Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we will be discussing a very important topic of the blood vessels, that is the atherosclerosis. As I told you in my previous lecture that the word atherosclerosis comes from the Greek word that means gruel or hardening. So atherosclerosis are basically the intimal lesions, the lesions that affect the intimal layer of the blood vessels. And the other names of atherosclerosis are the atheromas, the atheromatous, or the atherosclerotic plaques. They protrude into the lumen of the vessel wall. So the atheromas are the plaques that consist of a raised lesion, and they have a central soft yellow necrotic core that is basically composed of cholesterol esters, and this necrotic core is covered by the fibrous cap. So what these atherosclerotic plaques or the atheroma do, they obstruct the blood flow through the vessel wall and ultimately weak the underlying tunica media layer, as a result of which there is rupture of the vessel wall, causing severe and disastrous consequences. So atherosclerosis basically is the underlying pathogenetic abnormality of the ischemic heart disease, the cerebral vascular disease, and the peripheral vascular disease. So it is the major vascular abnormality that affects our heart, the brain, and the major organs of the body, as it disrupts the blood supply to the whole body. Now we will be discussing about the major constitutional risk factors for ischemic heart disease. There are two types of risk factor. One are the non-modifiable or the constitutional risk factors that are not under our influence. These are the natural factors that predisposes the person to the risk of ischemia. So these are the age, the gender, and the genetics. So the risk of ischemic heart disease or the atherosclerosis increases as the person ages, and in between the ages of 40 to 60, the incidence of myocardial infarction in men increases about 5-fold. And then there is gender preference. The women, the premenopausal women, are relatively protected against the atherosclerosis as compared to the age-matched men. Some of the theories suggest that it is related to the protective effect of the estrogens that are present in premenopausal women, and as after menopause the concentration of estrogen in the body decreases, the women are predisposed to the ischemic heart disease. However, some of the theories still suggest that there is protective effect if the postmenopausal estrogen replacement therapy is started early. Then the women are relatively protected against the risk of ischemic heart disease. However, if this therapy is delayed, then the women are more prone to the risk of ischemic heart disease. So this matter of estrogen production in female is still under debate. And then the genetics or the family history. There is familial predisposition to atherosclerosis and ischemic heart disease. So these are the non-modifiable risk factors. Now the major modifiable risk factor that we can change through our diet and exercise. These are hyperlipidemia. Hyperlipidemia, especially the hypercholesterolemia or increased concentration of LDL cholesterol in the body, has a physiological role in the development of atherosclerosis. LDL cholesterol is referred to as the bad cholesterol because this form of cholesterol transfers the cholesterol to the peripheral tissues. However, the HDL cholesterol or the good cholesterol mobilizes cholesterol from the peripheral tissues and ultimately transfers this cholesterol to the liver so that it can be excreted out of the body. So we have to keep our LDL cholesterol level low and the HDL cholesterol level high. And in order to achieve this balanced lipid state, we have to take a diet rich in polyunsaturated fatty acids, that is rich in omega-3 or the fish liver oil. However, the persons that diet consists of saturated fatty acid that is present in butter, margarine and egg yolks, it is actually delivering the bad cholesterol and is causing the hypercholesterolemia. The next major modifiable risk factor is the hypertension, and it increases the risk of ischemic heart disease by approximately 60%. The third modifiable risk factor is the cigarette smoking. So prolonged years of smoking of one pack of cigarettes or more daily increases the death rate from ischemic heart disease by 200%. And then there is diabetes that induces hypercholesterolemia, and the incidence of MI is twice as high in diabetic as compared to the non-diabetic individuals. The next risk factor is the inflammation, and inflammation is marked by the C-reactive protein. So whenever there is any inflammatory disease in the body, so the major marker that we do in the lab is the C-reactive protein, that is the major protein that is synthesized in the liver, and is significantly higher levels of C-reactive protein are present in the blood in the case of inflammatory disorder, and the higher the level of C-reactive protein, there is increase in the risk of ischemic heart disease. And these C-reactive protein basically indicate the cytokine storm. And as you know that this is these days corona infection is important, so the C-reactive protein levels when they are going to raise in this infection, they may ultimately lead to this death by myocardial infarction. Then the other major modifiable risk factor is the hyperhomocystinemia, increased level of homocysteine in the blood that is caused by its reduced excretion in the urine. Then the lipoprotein A, that is the altered form of the LDL cholesterol. And then the metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is the combination of obesity, diabetes, hypertension and hyperlipidemia. So whenever this metabolic syndrome is present in an individual, he is more prone to atherosclerosis and the ischemic heart disease. Then the factors that affect the hemostasis or the coagulation, that is the platelet activating protein and the thrombin, and the other factors like the lack of exercise, sedentary lifestyle, competitive stressful life, the type A personality individual and the obesity. Now coming to the pathogenesis, that is very important. There is response to injury hypothesis. So atherosclerosis is a chronic inflammatory response of the arterial wall to the endothelial injury. So endothelial injury is a stereotypic response to cell injury. So the lesion progression occurs through interaction of modified lipoproteins, the monocyte-derived macrophages, the T lymphocytes and the normal cellular constituents of the arterial wall. So what are the central tenets of this hypothesis? First, whenever there is endothelial injury, as you can recall from your third year knowledge, that whenever the endothelial cells are damaged in the vessel wall, they become loose, there is resultant endothelial dysfunction, as a result of which there is increase in permeability, the leukocyte adhesion due to the appearance of certain E and P selectins and integrins on the surface of endothelial cell. So ultimately the acute inflammatory cells accumulate within the vessel wall, leading to progression of inflammation and ultimately thrombosis. And then the second is the accumulation of lipoprotein, mainly the bad cholesterol or the low density lipoprotein and its oxidized forms within the vessel wall. And then the monocyte adhesion to the endothelium, and ultimately its transformation into the macrophages and foam cells. And then there is adhesion, platelet adhesion factor release from the activated platelets, macrophages and the vascular walls, resulting in the smooth muscle cell recruitment from the tunica media and ultimately their proliferation into the tunica intima and extracellular matrix, collagen and proteoglycan production. So the lipid accumulation both extracellularly and intracellularly within the cells will lead to the formation of atheromatous plaques. So These will be discussing in detail in this diagram. This is very important diagram showing the cross section of the vessel wall and all the three layers of the vessel wall. So at the first step, as you can see on the left side of the figure, there is chronic endothelial injury as a result of modifiable and the non-modifiable risk factors. And ultimately, as a result of endothelial cell injury, there is accumulation of platelets that are highlighted in the green color, and there is monocyte recruitment into the intimal layer, that are the blue cells. And after that, on the second step, these monocytes adhere to the tunica intima, and in the third stage there is migration of smooth muscle cells from the tunica media into the intima layer, as you can see on the right side top of the diagram. And ultimately, when both these smooth muscle cells from the tunica media and the monocytes from the blood lumen reach the tunica intima layer, these monocytes, under the influence of certain interleukins that are secreted from the T lymphocyte, the interferon gamma, they become activated to form activated macrophages. So they ultimately engulf the cholesterol from the vessel wall and become foam cells. So the macrophages and smooth muscle cells engulf lipid to form foam cells, and ultimately there is progression of the erythematous plaque. There is smooth muscle cells proliferation, and these smooth muscle cells will produce the extracellular matrix, the collagen, the proteoglycans, and ultimately formation of the stable plaque. So this is again a detailed diagram that I have explained earlier, the monocyte adhesion and its migration through the in between the endothelial cell, and ultimately the activation of macrophages under the action of interferon gamma released from the T cell, and when after transformation into the macrophage they engulf lipid and form the foam cells. And there is recruitment of smooth muscle cells from the tunica media through the internal elastic lamina into the tunica intima, and ultimately these smooth muscle cells proliferate to produce extracellular matrix, the collagen, the proteoglycan, and formation of the erythematous plaque. So now what is the morphology of the erythematous plaque? The fatty streaks. First, what are the fatty streaks? They are composed of the lipid-filled foam cells but are not significantly raised, and they begin as multiple minute yellow flat spots that can coalesce into the elongated streaks. So the fatty streak is the stage in which the foam cells are only formed, that is, the macrophages engulf to form the lipid-laden foam cells. However, there is no any formation of the extracellular matrix. So the atherosclerotic plaque, this is the fibrous or the fibrofatty plaques that impinge on the lumen of the artery and grossly appear as white to yellow. So the thrombosis superimposed over the surface of the ulcerated plaques is red-brown in color, and these lesions appear eccentric on cross-section. So these are the three principal components of the atherosclerotic plaques that you will be asked in your exams, and this is highly important, and the diagram of the erythematous plaque is also very important. So the components are the smooth muscle cells, the macrophages, and the T lymphocytes. The second component is the extracellular matrix, including the collagen, elastic fibers, and the proteoglycans. The third is the intracellular and the extracellular lipid. So what are the parts of the plaque on cross section? There is superficial fibrous cap that is composed of smooth muscle cell and the dense collagen that is formed by the proliferation of the smooth muscle cell. And the shoulder beneath and to the side of the cap is the more cellular area that is comprising of the macrophages, the T lymphocytes, and the smooth muscle cells. Now the parts of the plaque on cross section, the central or the necrotic cord that is deep to the fibrous cap, it contains the activated macrophages, the foam cells, the cholesterol esters, the necrotic debris, the T lymphocytes and the platelets, and the cholesterol that is crystalline and are washed out during the routine tissue processing and leave behind only the empty clefts. And there is formation of new blood vessels at the periphery of the atherosclerotic plaque that is referred to as the neovascularization. So the figure A shown here is the appearance of the fatty streaks within the wall of the aorta, and the figure C also shows the appearance of fatty streaks. So this is the diagram of the atheromatous plaque. The top is the fibrous cap that is composed of smooth muscle cells, the macrophages, and the extracellular matrix comprising of collagen, elastin, proteoglycans, and at the shoulder there is formation of new blood vessels or the neovascularization, and the central necrotic core is composed of activated macrophages, the foam cells, the lipid engulfed smooth muscle cell, the necrotic debris, and the cholesterol crystals. So this diagram is very important, you should memorize by heart. So these are the cross section of atherosclerotic plaque, and in figure A you can see the part that is highlighted in F is the fibrous cap, and the part that is highlighted as C is the necrotic core of the atheromatous plaque, and the L is the lumen of the vessel wall. And the second figure is the elastin stain that shows subsequent weakening of the tunica intima and the tunica media layer of the vessel wall as a result of the pressure that is exerted by the atherosclerotic plaque, and the elastin stain is highlighted in the black color. And the third figure shows the accumulation of inflammatory cell infiltrate within the atheromatous plaque, and the arrowhead indicates the formation of new blood vessels or the neovascularization within the atheroma. So now the consequences of these atherosclerotic plaque, that are the acute plaque changes. They can rupture, ulcerate, or erode. The hemorrhage occurs into the plaque. They may undergo thromboembolism or aneurysm. So whenever the plaque rupture occurs, there is exposure of the bloodstream to highly thrombogenic substances that induces thrombus formation and occlude the lumen, leading to downstream ischemia. So hemorrhage into the plaque occurs by the rupture of thin-walled blood vessels. So whenever there is plaque rupture from the wall of the vessel, it can undergo embolism or thrombosis, and these emboli can migrate to different arteries and ultimately lead to dangerous consequences. And then the aneurysm, that is the weakening of the vessel wall leading to dilatation or rupture. So atherosclerosis induced pressure or the ischemic atrophy of the underlying media will lead to the loss of elastic tissue, causing the weakening of the vessel wall and ultimately leading to the formation of aneurysms. So this diagram shows the pathogenesis of the ischemic heart disease. As you can see on the left side of the figure, there is normal artery, and first at lesion prone areas there is appearance of the fatty streak, and ultimately this fatty streak becomes the fibrofatty plaque, and when after the subsequent accumulation and proliferation of smooth muscle cell and accumulation of fat, it becomes the advanced or the vulnerable plaque, in which the necrotic core is the content of the necrotic core is higher and the fibrinous cap becomes thin. So this advanced or the vulnerable plaque is more prone to the acute plaque change. So it could either undergo rupture, there is aneurysm formation, it can either completely occlude the vessel wall by progressive plaque growth leading to critical stenosis, or it can undergo occlusion by the hemorrhage that occurs as a result of the rupture of the major vessel over the surface of atheroma, leading to the formation of thrombus, and ultimately this thrombus can migrate to different sides of the body, leading to downstream ischemia. So the acute plaque changes could be sudden death, the rupture, fissuring, erosion, the hemorrhage into the atheroma, and the plaques do not need to be large enough to have the acute change. So there is a difference between the stable plaque and the vulnerable plaque. As you can see, in the stable plaque, the necrotic core is relatively thin as compared to the fibrous cap, and there is less number of inflammatory cells, while in the case of vulnerable plaque, there is progressive accumulation of smooth muscle cells, and ultimately there is deposition of foam cells and macrophages, cholesterol esters, as a result of which there is thinning of the fibrous cap and more accumulation of inflammatory cell. So as a result of which this plaque is more vulnerable to the consequences of the acute plaque change. So what does atherosclerosis do? It is the underlying cause of morbidity and mortality in the human body. So it is the major risk factor of myocardial infarction, that it can cause heart attack, and then the cerebral infarction, it can cause cerebral infarction, the stroke, so it affects the heart, the brain. It can cause aortic aneurysm, and then the peripheral vascular disease or the gangrene. So atherosclerosis is the major vascular anomaly that is causing major other lesions that can cause sudden death in an individual. So you should study in detail the atherosclerosis. There is an MCQ that I have written for your tutorials, and this is basically to revise the basic concept of atherosclerosis. So there is a 56-year-old man that has not received any medical care, or nor he has seen a physician for years. So he reports reduced exercise tolerance for the past 5 years, and on occasion in the past year he has noted chest pain after climbing the stairs. So he smokes 2 packs of cigarettes per day, and he is found to have a high blood pressure of 155 by 95 millimeter of mercury. So he has a body mass index of 30. The lab findings include a total serum cholesterol of 255 mg per deciliter with an HDL cholesterol of 22 mg per deciliter. So which vascular anomaly causes significant health risk to this patient? So there are 4 options, as you can already know that what is the answer. So in order to revise, I can just say that all the modifiable and the non-modifiable risk factors are present in this clinical scenario. As you can see, the age, the gender, and the are the non-modifiable risk factor, and then as you can see, the smoking, the high blood pressure, obesity, and as you can very well appreciate the lab findings, that is the hypercholesterolemia, the low HDL levels. So these are all the modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors that will lead to only one major vascular anomaly. So you should clearly understand the concept of atherosclerosis. You should know the basic pathogenesis, the pathogenetic mechanism, the basic structure of atherosclerotic plaque, what are the consequences of the acute plaque change, and what are the differences between the stable and the vulnerable plaques, and the basic consequences of the atherosclerosis. So thank you so much for patient listening.